Hi friends, let me ask you something right now. When you woke up this morning, what was the first thought that entered your mind? Was it gratitude? Was it excitement? Or was it that same heavy feeling, that voice whispering that today is going to be just like yesterday, just like last week, just like last year? I need you to be honest with yourself right now, because that first thought, that first feeling, it sets the tone for everything that follows. I want to tell you something that nobody else might tell you today. You are powerful. Not the kind of powerful that comes from money or status or followers on social media. I'm talking about the kind of power that comes from within, the kind that has been buried under years of disappointment, under rejection, under people telling you that you're not good enough, not smart enough, not talented enough. But it's still there. It's still burning. And today, right now, we're going to fan that flame until it becomes a fire so bright that nobody can ignore it, including you. You see, I grew up believing in fairy tales, not the ones in books, but the one that life is supposed to be easy, that success is supposed to find you, that dreams are supposed to come true just because you dream them. And life, in its beautiful, brutal way, taught me something different. Life taught me that the fairy tale isn't about things being easy. The fairy tale is about you becoming someone strong enough to face what's hard. I remember being a little girl in Bareilly, a small town where everyone knew everyone, where dreams were supposed to be small and safe. My parents wanted more for me, and I'm grateful for that, but wanting more and getting more, two completely different things. When I won Miss World at 17, people thought, oh, she has it all now. Everything will be easy for her. But let me tell you, what they don't show you in those crowning moments, in those photographs where someone is smiling with tears in their eyes, they don't show you the fear. The absolute terror of thinking, what now? What if this is the peak? What if I can never live up to this moment again? I moved to Mumbai with dreams bigger than my experience, bigger than my understanding of how this industry worked. I didn't come from a film family. I didn't have connections. I had a crown, yes, but in an industry where legacy means everything, I had nothing. And let me tell you, nothing humbles you faster than walking into rooms where nobody knows your name, where nobody cares about your dreams, where you're just another face hoping for a chance. I did 13 films in the first 3 years of my career. 13. And people look at that number and think, wow, opportunity. But let me tell you what that number really meant. It meant desperation. It meant saying yes to everything, because I was terrified of saying no. It meant working on films I didn't believe in, playing characters that didn't challenge me, becoming someone I didn't recognize in the mirror. I was so busy chasing success that I forgot to define what success actually meant to me. There was this one night I remember it so clearly. I was sitting in my apartment in Mumbai at 2 in the morning, reading reviews of one of my films. And the words were harsh. They called my acting mechanical. They said I was just a pretty face. They questioned whether I belonged in this industry at all. And I sat there, tears streaming down my face, thinking maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I should just go back, accept that this was a nice try. But not everyone's dreams are meant to come true. But then something shifted. And I want you to understand this shift, because it's the same shift that every single one of you needs to make if you want to transform your life. I stopped reading those reviews as a verdict on who I was. And I started reading them as information about who I needed to become. See, the difference between people who give up and people who break through isn't talent. It's not luck. It's the ability to take pain and turn it into fuel. I made a decision that night. I decided that if I was going to fail, I was going to fail on my own terms. Do it. Work that I believed in, not work that I thought would make other people happy. I started saying no. And let me tell you, in an industry where everyone wants to be seen, where everyone is fighting for opportunities, saying no feels like career suicide. People, he told me I was being difficult, that I was ruining my chances, that I should be grateful for whatever I was getting, but I learned something that I need you to write down, to tattoo on your heart if you have to. Your time is the most valuable thing you have. Every yes to something that doesn't serve your vision is a no to something that could. You cannot be everything to everyone. You cannot chase every opportunity. You have to be brave enough to bet on yourself. Even when everyone else is betting against you, the roles started changing. The work started getting better. But here's what people don't tell you about success. It doesn't erase your insecurity. It doesn't silence that voice in your head that says you're not enough. When I got the opportunity to work in American television, when Quantic happened, people celebrated like it was this overnight success. overnight. I had been working for over a decade. I had done more than 50 films. But in America, I was starting from zero again. Imagine that. Imagine being at the top of your game in one place and then voluntarily choosing to go somewhere where nobody knows you, where you have to prove yourself all over again. People thought I was crazy. They said, why would you leave Bollywood when you're finally established? Why would you risk everything? And I'll tell you why. Because comfort is the enemy of growth. Because safe is the enemy of significant. Because if you're not scaring yourself a little bit with your goal, then your goals aren't big enough. I landed in America with 3 suitcases and a dream that most people thought was impossible. A brown girl with an accent, trying to make it in Hollywood, where representation was barely a conversation, where roles for people who looked like me were limited to stereotypes and sidekicks. The first audition I went to, I was so nervous I could barely speak. And I remember the casting director looking at me and asking, can you make your accent more Indian? And I stood there confused because my accent was Indian. But what they wanted was a caricature version of Indian that fit their limited understanding. I went home that day and I cried. Not because I was sad, but because I was angry. Angry at a system that wanted to put me in a box. Angry at myself for almost conforming to fit that box. And that anger became my catalyst. I decided that if I was going to do this, I was going to do it as myself. Unapologetically, authentically, fully. I wasn't going to shrink to make others comfortable. I wasn't going to change my name, my accent, my identity to fit someone else's narrative. Let me tell you something about the world. The world will try to tell you who you should be. It will give you a script, a set of rules, a path that has been walked by everyone before you. And the world will tell you that deviating from that path is dangerous, that being different is a disadvantage. But I'm here to tell you that your difference is your power, your story, the one that only you can tell, the perspective that only you have, that is your superpower. Quantico became a success. I became the first South Asian to headline an American network drama series. And suddenly, the same people who questioned my decision were celebrating it, calling it brave, calling it groundbreaking. But I knew the truth. It wasn't brave in the moment of success. It was brave in the moments when I was alone in a foreign country, missing my family, questioning every decision, wondering if I had made a terrible mistake. Bravery isn't the absence of fear. Bravery is continuing to move forward even when fear is sitting in the passenger seat, whispering doubts in your ear. Now I want to pause here because I know some of you are sitting there thinking that's great for her, but my circumstances are different. I don't have opportunities like that. I'm not talented like that. I'm not lucky like that. And I need to stop you right there because that thinking, that victim mentality is the only thing standing between you and everything you want. Let me be very clear about something. I am not special. I am not more talented than thousands of other people who had the same dream. What I am is relentless. What I am is willing to outwork my insecurities. What I am is someone who decided that my circumstances would not define my destiny. And that decision, that choice is available to every single person listening to me right now. You want to know what separates people who make it from people who don't? It's not talent. Talent is common. Hard work is common. What's rare is the combination of patience and persistence. What's rare is the ability to keep showing up day after day, year after year, even when you're not seeing results, even when nobody is watching, even when it feels like the universe is conspiring against you. I worked 17-hour days. I said yes to interviews at 5 in the morning. I trained, I studied, I learned the craft. I faced rejection after rejection after rejection. And every single rejection taught me something. It taught me resilience. It taught me adaptability. It taught me that my worth is not determined by someone else's yes or no. There's this beautiful thing that happens when you stop seeking validation from external sources. When you stop waiting for someone to give you permission to be great. When you stop looking for approval and start looking for improvement. Your entire energy shifts. You stop being desperate. You start being intentional. You stop chasing. You start attracting. I started my own production company because I got tired of waiting for perfect roles to come to me. I decided to create them. I started writing, producing, telling stories that mattered to me. Stories that represented the world as I saw it, not as Hollywood had been showing it. And that decision, that shift from consumer to creator, that changed everything. See, most people are waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect opportunity, the perfect circumstances. And I'm here to tell you that perfection is a myth. The perfect moment is now. The perfect opportunity is the one you create. The perfect circumstances are the ones you build with your own hands, your own effort, your own unwavering commitment to your vision. I want to talk about failure for a moment, because we don't talk about it enough. We live in a world of highlight reels, of carefully curated success stories, of before and after transformations that don't show you the messy middle. We see people's victories, but we don't see their defeats. We see their triumphs, but we don't see their tears. And that creates this false narrative that success is supposed to be linear, that it's supposed to be easy for everyone else. And if it's hard for you, then something must be wrong with you. I've had films that bombed at the box office. I've had projects I believed in that nobody else understood. I've made decisions that looked wrong in the moment and only made sense years later. I've been criticized, ridiculed, underestimated, overlooked. And every single one of those experiences taught me something valuable. They taught me humility. They taught me empathy. They taught me that failure is not the opposite of success. It's a part of success. When I wrote my memoir, unfinished, I had to confront parts of my journey that I had buried, parts that were painful to revisit. The loneliness of being far from home. The pressure of representing an entire community. The fear of not being enough. The sacrifices that came with ambition. And as I wrote those pages, as I relived those moments, I realized that those struggles weren't detours from my path. They were the path. They were shaping me, molding me, preparing me for everything that was to come. You see, we often think that our struggles are obstacles, that our pain is something to overcome and move past. But what if our struggles are actually our training ground? What if our pain is the thing that gives us depth, empathy, strength? What if the very things we're ashamed of, the failures we try to hide, the moments we wish we could erase? What if those are the things that make us relatable, real, human? I'm standing here today not in spite of my struggles, but because of them. Every rejection made me more determined. Every failure made me more resilient. Every moment of doubt made my eventual belief in myself more powerful. And I need you to understand this about your own journey. The challenges you're facing right now, the obstacles that seem insurmountable, the problems that keep you up at night, they are not punishments. They are preparation. There was a time when I was doing press for a film, and a journalist asked me, "What's your backup plan?" And I looked at them, confused, and said, "Backup plan for what?" And they said, "For when this doesn't work out." And I realized in that moment how many people approach their dreams with an exit strategy already in place. They start with one foot already out the door. They pursue their passion with a safety net so big that they never truly commit to the fall. I didn't have a backup plan. Not because I was reckless, but because I was committed. I burned the boats. I went all in. And I'm not saying that everyone should quit their job and chase a dream with no plan. What I'm saying is that your level of commitment determines your level of success. If you're pursuing something half-heartedly, you're going to get half-hearted results. If you're keeping your options open, if you're hedging your bets, if you're preparing for failure, then failure is exactly what you're going to create. The universe responds to certainty. It responds to unwavering commitment. It responds to people who say, "This is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it no matter how long it takes, no matter how hard it gets, no matter who tells me it's impossible." That energy, that determination, that's what creates miracles. Now let me talk about sacrifice. Nobody wants to talk about what you have to give up to get what you want. We want to believe that we can have everything, that balance is achievable, that we don't have to choose. But the truth is, every yes to one thing is a no to something else. Every hour you spend building your dream is an hour you're not spending doing something else. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be willing to say no to good things so you can say yes to great things. I missed weddings. I missed birthdays. I missed holidays with my family. I said no to relationships that would have required me to compromise my ambition. I sacrificed stability for possibility. And there were moments when I wondered if I was making the right choice. Moments when I watched friends settle down and I was still chasing, still striving, still building. But I knew that I would regret not pursuing my dreams far more than I would regret missing a party. And here's the thing about sacrifice that nobody tells you. It doesn't feel like sacrifice when you're passionate about what you're building. It feels like investment. It feels like dedication. It feels like you're planting seeds that will grow into something beautiful. Even if you can't see the fruit yet, I want to talk to the women listening right now, because we face unique challenges, unique pressures, unique expectations. We're told to be ambitious but not too ambitious, to be confident but not arrogant, to be strong but not intimidating, to speak up but not be loud, to lead but not be bossy. We're expected to balance career and family, to be nurturing and fierce, to be everything to everyone while somehow still maintaining our own identity. And I'm here to tell you that those rules, those expectations, those limitations that society places on you, they're not real. They're constructs created by people who are afraid of your power, afraid of. What happens when women stop asking for permission and start taking up space? You don't need to shrink. You don't need to apologize for your ambition. You don't need to make yourself smaller so others feel bigger. I've been in rooms where I was the only woman, the only person of color, the only one without decades of experience. And I could have let that intimidate me. I could have stayed quiet, played it safe, waited for permission to speak. Instead, I decided that my presence in that room was not an accident. It was earned. My perspective was valuable. My voice mattered. And I spoke up. I contributed. I claimed my space. And yes, there were people who didn't like it. There were people who called me difficult, who said I was too demanding, too opinionated, too much. But I learned that when people call you too much, what they're really saying is that they're not enough to handle you. And that's their problem, not yours. You have to surround yourself with people who celebrate your wins, not people who are threatened by them. You have to build a community that lifts you up, that challenges you to be better, that holds you accountable to your vision. Because the people you surround yourself with, they either elevate you or they drain you. There's no in between. I've been blessed with incredible mentors, with friends who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, with family who supported my dreams even when they didn't fully understand them. And I've also had to distance myself from people who were negative, who were jealous, who wanted to keep me at their lee. Well, because my growth made them uncomfortable. And that's okay. Not everyone is meant to be in every chapter of your story. Some people are there for a season to teach you a lesson, and then you have to be brave enough to let them go. Let me tell you about a moment that changed my perspective on everything. I was at the UN, speaking as a UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador about the importance of education for girls. And after my speech, a young girl, she couldn't have been more than 10 years old, came up to me with tears in her eyes and said, I want to be like you when I grow up. And my heart just broke and soared at the same time, because I realized the weight of representation, responsibility. That comes with visibility. Every choice I make, every role I take, every word I speak publicly, it matters. Not just for me, but for every young girl who sees me and thinks, maybe I can do that too. Maybe someone who looks like me, who talks like me, who comes from where I come from. Maybe they can achieve big things too. That's the power of being the first. You break the door down so others can walk through, but being the first also means being lonely sometimes. It means dealing with criticism that has nothing to do with your work and everything to do with people's biases and limitation. It means being held to different standards, having to be twice as good to get half the recognition. And you have to decide if you're willing to carry that weight, if you're willing to be the 1W. O paves the path so others can run on it. And I decided that yes, I'm willing. Because my success is not just mine. It belongs to every person who was told they couldn't, to every dreamer who was told to be realistic, to every immigrant who was told they didn't belong. My success is proof that the impossible is just an opinion, not a fact. Now I want to shift gears for a moment, talk about the practical side of achieving your dreams. Because motivation without action is just entertainment. You can feel inspired right now, you can feel pumped up, you can feel like you're ready to conquer the world. But if you don't take that energy and channel it into consistent daily action, then nothing changes. Let me tell you about my routine, about the discipline that nobody sees. I wake up early, and I don't mean early like 7 or 8. I mean early like 5, sometimes 4:30 in the morning. And the first thing I do is not check my phone, not scroll through social media, not dive into the chaos of the world. The first thing I do is spend time with myself. I meditate. I set my intentions for the day. I visualize what I want to create, who I want to be, how I want to show up. That time in the morning, that's sacred. That's when I connect with my purpose, with my why. Because let me tell you, the days get hard. The schedule gets overwhelming. The pressure gets intense. And if you're not anchored in your purpose, If you don't remember why you started, then you'll quit one thing. As get tough, after my morning routine, I work out. Not because I love working out. Trust me. There are days when the last thing I want to do is exercise. But I do it because discipline in one area of your life creates discipline in all areas of your life. If you can push yourself when you don't feel like it physically, you can push yourself when you don't feel like it professionally. Your body and your mind are connected, and when you train one, you strengthen the other, then comes the work. And I work with intensity, with focus, with purpose. I don't multitask. I don't scroll through Instagram while I'm supposed to be reading a script. I don't half commit to anything. When I'm working, I'm all in. And when I'm resting, I actually rest. I don't feel guilty about taking breaks, about sleeping, about recharging. Because you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't give your best if you're running on empty. I plan my days. I set goals. Not just big, lofty, someday goals, but daily, actionable, specific goals. What am I going to accomplish today? What is the one thing that if I do it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? And I do that thing first. I don't procrastinate. I don't wait for motivation. I show up and I do the work whether I feel like it or not. Because here's the secret that nobody tells you. Motivation is not the prerequisite for action. Action creates motivation. You don't wait until you feel like doing something to do it. You do it. And then the momentum builds. And then the motivation follows. Most people have it backwards. They're waiting to feel ready. Waiting to feel inspired, waiting to feel confident. But confidence comes from action, not the other way around. Every time you do something that scares you, every time you push through discomfort, every time you keep a promise to yourself, you build self-trust. And self-trust is the foundation of confidence. You start to believe in yourself because you have evidence, you have proof that you can do hard things, that you can show up for yourself, that you can keep going when it gets tough. I've trained with some of the best acting coaches in the world. I've taken voice lessons, accent lessons, dance lessons, fight choreography lessons. I've studied films, analyzed performances, broken down scenes to understand what makes them work. I've invested in myself time, money, energy, because I understood that I am my greatest asset. The better I get, the more value I can provide, the more opportunity will come. And this is where a lot of people get it wrong. They want success, but they're not willing to invest in themselves. They want opportunities, but they're not developing skills. They want to be chosen, but they're not making themselves valuable. You have to understand that the market doesn't owe you anything. The industry doesn't owe you anything. The world doesn't owe you anything. But if you make yourself undeniable, if you become so good that they can't ignore you, then opportunities start to find you. I want to talk about money for a second because it's something we don't discuss enough, especially in the context of dreams and passion. There's this narrative that if you love what you do, money doesn't matter, that passion is its own reward. And while there's some truth to that, the reality is that money matters because money is freedom. Money is the ability to make choices. Money is security for yourself. And for the people you love, I came from a middle-class family. My parents worked hard to give me a good education, a comfortable life, but we weren't wealthy. And when I started earning, when I became financially independent, that changed everything. It meant I could say no to projects that didn't align with my values. It meant I could take risks because I had a cushion to fall back on. It meant I could support my family, give back to my community, invest in causes I believed in. But here's what I learned about money. It's a tool, not a goal. If you're chasing money for the sake of money, you'll never have enough. There will always be someone richer, something more expensive, some new level of luxury to aspire to. But if you're chasing purpose, if you're building something meaningful, then money becomes a byproduct of the value you create, not the reason you create it. I've turned down projects that would have paid me millions because they didn't align with who I am, with the message I want to send, with the legacy I want to leave. And I've taken projects that paid less but meant more because they allowed me to tell important stories, to work with people I admired, to grow as an artist. Money is important, yes, but it's not everything. And if you make it everything, you'll sacrifice parts of yourself that no amount of money can buy back. Let me talk about relationships for a moment, because success means nothing if you don't have people to share it with. I've been in relationships that didn't work because I was so focused on my career that I didn't make time for the other person. I've had friendships fade because I was traveling constantly, working constantly, chasing constantly. And there's a part of me that regrets that wishes I had balanced things better. But I also learned that the right people, the ones who are truly meant to be in your life, they understand. They support your dreams. They don't make you choose between them and your ambition. They celebrate your success. They're there during the failures. They love you for who you are, not what you can do for them. When I met my husband, I was at a point in my life where I had built so much, achieved so much, that I wasn't looking for someone to complete me. I was whole on my own. And I think that's the key. You don't find the right relationship when you're desperate for one, when you think you need someone else to be happy. You find it when you're already happy, when you've built a life you love. And someone comes along who adds to it, who enhances it, who makes it better but doesn't define it. And now, as I navigate marriage, as I think about family, as I balance personal life with professional ambitions, I'm learning new lessons every day. I'm learning about compromise without sacrificing my identity. I'm learning about partnership where both people lift each other up. I'm learning that love isn't about losing yourself in another person. It's about finding someone who encourages you to be more yourself. I want to address something that I know a lot of you struggle with, comparison. We live in an age where everyone's life is on display. We see people's wins, their trips, their purchases, their perfect moments. And it's so easy to look at that and feel like you're behind. Like everyone else has it figured out except you. Like you are not doing enough, not achieving enough, not living enough. But what you're seeing is a curated version of reality. You're seeing the highlights, not the full story. You're seeing the destination, not the journey. You're seeing the success, not the struggle that preceded it. And when you compare your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel, you'll always feel inadequate. I've had moments where I've scrolled through social media and felt that pang of jealousy, that feeling of why don't I have that? Why aren't I there yet? And I have to consciously remind myself that my journey is my own. My timeline is my own. My definition of success is my own. And comparing myself to anyone else is not only unfair, it's pointless because we're all running different races toward different finish lines. The only person you should compare yourself to is who you were yesterday. Are you growing? Are you learning? Are you getting closer to your goals? Are you becoming the person you want to be? That's all that matters. Not how you measure up to someone else's journey, but how you're progressing on your own. Let me tell you about a practice that changed my life, gratitude. Every single day, no matter how hard the day was, no matter what went wrong, I write down 3 things I'm grateful for. And sometimes they're big things, a great project, a meaningful conversation, a breakthrough moment. And sometimes they're small things, a good cup of coffee, a beautiful sunset, a moment of laughter. Because here's what gratitude does. It shifts your focus from what you lack to what you have. It trains your brain to look for the good instead of dwelling on the bad. And the more you practice gratitude, the more you realize how much you already have, how far you've already come, how blessed you already are. We spend so much time chasing the next thing, the next goal, the next achievement, the next level that we forget to appreciate the current thing. We forget to celebrate how far we've come. We forget to acknowledge our own growth. And that's a tragedy because the journey is where life happens. The destination is just a moment. But the journey, the becoming, the growing, that's where all the bow. Thank you is, I want to talk about purpose for a moment because I think a lot of people are searching for it, waiting for it to reveal itself, expecting it to show up like some grand epiphany. But purpose isn't something you find. Purpose is something you create. It's built through experiences, through trying things, through discovering what lights you up and what drains you. My purpose has evolved over the years. Early in my career, my purpose was to prove myself, to show that I belonged, to make my parents proud. Then it became about excellence, about being the best at my craft, about winning awards and recognition. And now my purpose is about impact, about using my platform to create change, to tell stories that matter, to inspire others to pursue their own dreams. Your purpose will evolve too. And that's okay. You're allowed to change, to grow, to want different things at different stages of your life. You're not locked into one path. You're not defined by one decision. You're a constant work in progress, a living, breathing, evolving human being. And your purpose should evolve with you. But the one constant, the one thing that should always drive you is the desire to contribute something meaningful to the world, to leave it a little better than you found it, to use your unique gifts, your unique perspective, your unique voice to create something that matters. That's purpose. That's legacy. I think about legacy a lot now. What do I want to be remembered for? What impact do I W? And to have. And I realize that it's not about the number of films I've done or the awards I've won. It's about the doors I've opened for others. It's about the representation I've provided. It's about the young girl who sees me and thinks, I can do that too. That's the legacy I want to leave. Not just personal success, but collective elevation. Not just breaking barriers for myself, but creating paths for others to follow. Not just achieving my own dreams, but inspiring others to chase theirs. And I think that's what we should all aspire to. To be so successful that we lift others up with us. To be so fulfilled that we help others find fulfillment. To be so empowered that we empower those around us. Because true success isn't about hoarding opportunities or guarding your secrets or competing with everyone else. True success is about collaboration, about community, about creating a rising tide that lifts all boats. I've mentored young actors. I've produced content that gives opportunities to underrepresented voices. I've used my platform to advocate for causes. I believe in education for girls, environmental sustainability, pay equity, representation in media. Because I understand that with privilege comes responsibility. With visibility comes the obligation to use it for good, and I'm not perfect at this. I make mistakes. I fall short. I have days where I'm so caught up in my own challenges that I forget to think about the bigger picture. But I keep coming back to it. I keep asking myself, how can I use what I have to help others? How can I make my success mean something beyond myself? Let me tell you about fear, because I don't think we talk about it honestly enough. Fear is always there. It doesn't go away when you become successful. It doesn't disappear when you achieve your goals. If anything, it gets louder, because now you have something to lose. Now the stakes are higher. Now more people are watching. I still feel fear before every new project. I still worry that I'm not good enough, that I'll be found out as a fraud, that I've peaked, and everything from here is downhill. That voice, that imposter syndrome, it's real, it's persistent, it's exhausting. But I've learned not to let fear make my decisions. I acknowledge it. I thank it for trying to protect me. And then I do the thing anyway. Because courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is feeling the fear and moving forward regardless. Every time I've made a big leap in my career, fear has been there. When I moved to Mumbai, when I transitioned to Hollywood, when I started my production company, when I wrote my book, fear was sitting right next to me, listing all the ways it could go wrong. And every time, I thanked fear for its input and did it anyway. And you know what I've learned? Most of the things we fear never actually happen. Most of our worries are wasted energy on hypothetical disasters that exist only in our minds. And even when things do go wrong, even when we face actual failure or rejection or disappointment, we survive it. We learn from it. We become stronger because of it. So stop letting fear keep you small. Stop letting the possibility of failure prevent you from trying. Stop letting the opinions of others dictate your choices. Stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, the perfect circumstances. They don't exist. All you have is now. All you have is this moment. And you get to choose what you do with it. You can choose to play it safe, to stay comfortable, to protect yourself from potential pain. Or you can choose to take a risk, to bet on yourself, to pursue something that scares and excites you in equal measure. And I'm telling you, the regret of not trying is far worse than the pain of trying and failing. I've failed so many times. I've made bad choices. I've trusted the wrong people. I've said yes when I should have said no, and no when I should have said yes. I've invested time and energy in projects that went nowhere. I've been disappointed. I've been heartbroken. I've been rejected, but I've never regretted trying. I've never regretted taking a chance, putting myself out there, being vulnerable, being bold. Because even when things didn't work out the way I hoped, I learned something. I grew. I gained experience. I discovered what I didn't want, which helped me clarify what I did want. And that's the beautiful thing about failure. It's information. It's feedback. It's redirection. It's not a commentary on your worth, your potential. It's just data that tells you to adjust your approach, to try a different strategy, to keep evolving. I want to talk to anyone listening who feels stuck right now. Maybe you're in a job you hate. Maybe you're in a relationship that's draining you. Maybe you're in a city that doesn't feel like home. Maybe you're living a life that looks good on paper, but feels empty in your heart, and you know you need to change something. But you're scared. You're scared of what people will think. You're scared of financial insecurity. You're scared of the unknown. You're scared of disappointing others. You're scared of disappointing yourself. I understand that fear. I've been there. But let me tell you something. The discomfort of change is temporary. But the pain of staying stuck is permanent. You can endure this. Response pause because